Welcome to the For Real Though Show. I am your host, Christopher Keith. You are entering now season two. So thanks for joining us. If you like us, hey, check us out on the YouTube page at For Real Though Show. That's the number 4RealThowShow. Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. So before we get started, I wanted to send a shout out and thank everybody for your support for the last season. And I also want to thank you for your support for my bird. As many of you know who follow me on social media, that my bird Gustavo passed away this week, uh, quite unexpectedly. He seemed like he was fine, and that he wasn't. So, wanted to give a little shout out to Gus and just talk about how much he meant to me, um, and just share some memories. So, I remember when I first got Gus, it was from a guy. Uh, I guess he was moving and he couldn't take the bird with him. So I met him at Quick Trip. So I got Gus for free, bought a cage, and I already had a cage ready for him. And I remember having him in the living room and he was on the floor and I would start building the cage around him and stuff. So when I first started building the cage, he ran and jumped right into the middle of it at the bottom. So I was still constructing it around him, but he was like, you know, run into it because he knew that was where his home was. So it was a cage that he hadn't even seen before, but he knew that it was his spot. So I thought that was pretty cool. Uh, and then there were times I'd have to sometimes I'd take him to the vet and have his wings clipped because he could fly, and I used to have to chase him around the house because he would get out of the cage, but he didn't want to get back in the cage. So I'd chase him, and then he'd go up into the curtains, and I have to try to grab him, and then I'd grab him, and then he'd bite me with his beak. Draw some blood too. So then I got smart. I got a towel. I wrap a towel around and grab him, and then he'd bite on that towel, and he couldn't draw no flesh, boy. He'd be pissed off. And then there was a time I chased him down the street because well, his wings was clipped again. And I took him out to the front yard. I'm like, okay, I can watch him, let him get some fresh air and run around. Well, little did I know, his wings had, grown back enough for him to fly. So he just jumps and starts flying like above the trees down the street. And I'm chasing him down the street. I'm like, Gus, come back. And he's flapping and stuff and doing his thing. But, you got to know that he's not really used to flying. So, he's doing his thing, but he's kind of out of control at the same time. He got pretty high up in the sky, but I remember he hit the ground, but he landed on his feet, but it was like a half a block away. And then, but he didn't fly no more. He was like, shit. So I went and got him and, stick my finger in his belly, and then he just kind of climb up like this, on your finger, you know. But then I had to hide his face though, because if he see air, he's ready to fly. So I have to cover his face up like that, to get him in. But yeah, man, we had some good times. He uh, really, really became close. Some cockatiels could talk, but he never talked. Uh, he whistled, and I taught him a few whistles. I'm not a very good whistler, but he knew mine. So if I was, he could do that one. Uh, his favorite was just, and he would mimic my whistle. So if I was in the room and I whistle, he would whistle right back. Like his hearing, being a bird is so quick and keen that before your whistle even is finished, he's already responding. So it'd be like, so he'd be gone just that fast. So we did that a lot. Uh, so that was our call and response. So I no matter how fast I go, he'd be wait, 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 wait. I mean, just as fast, you know. Gus loved music. I think well, he likes all different kinds of music, but I think his favorite to dance to was definitely hip hop. So I remember I put on the Humpty dance, and he would, go back and forth on his rope, and he would, you know, go to the other side, and he'd be going with the beat, it'd be like, "Yeah, baby, do the Humpty Hump," and he'd be do the Humpty Hump. So he'd go back and do that thing, he was really cool like that. Uh, And he liked gospel music too. But funny thing about gospel is he would never dance to the gospel. He just would whistle to it. So especially if it was like a praise and worship type of thing. If they was really singing and it was a choir, where you could hear a lot of voices and stuff like that, he would just kind of go along with the harmony of it and just whistle it. Um, so that was cool. The other thing that tickled me was since I started working from home, uh, his cage is where my office space is. And so we got into this routine. I come in here at 7 o'clock, and he look at me for a while, and then he climbed down off his stoop and would start eating. That's would eat his breakfast. So like he got so used to it that on the weekend, he would just chirp and, not even chirp, he'd squawk. Squawk is like different than a chirp. Chirp is like, I'm talking to you, I may be having fun, whistling. He had all these different kind of whistles and rhythms to it, but his squawk was like he was complaining. And then he even had a squawk to where he was like whining, like wah, wah, almost sound like a dog or something. But I mean, I'm sounding like a dog, but he didn't. He sounded like a bird. but but I could tell which one each was. Well, anyway, so on the weekends, he would like have piss a bitch, because he's like, where you at, dog? I gotta eat. You supposed to come in here and sit down. This what I do. This what you do. What's going on? You know. But yeah, so he wouldn't have his first meal until I come in here and sit down. And it's funny so that like say for instance, I could put the coffee on, come in here, sign on, do my thing, and go in there and get my cup of coffee. Well, if I was going to get my coffee while Gus was climbing down, he'd be climbing down and stuff, getting ready to eat. And he'd be like, see me get up? You could just see him sometimes he would sigh. He'd be like, come on, man. Damn. And then he would climb back up, because I left, you know what I mean? So he couldn't eat. It's like, man, go ahead and eat, you know what I mean? But he wouldn't eat unless I'm sitting here. So now I'm coming here and sit down and, do my thing and be working. And then he would come on down and eat 5, 10, 15 minutes or whatever. And then, I say about 8:30, 9 o'clock, when I'm really grooving in, he up on his perch sleep. Y'all like, knocked out. And I'll be like, man, it's like my man told me the other day. He was like, hey, man, you got to pay the cost to be the boss. So I guess he figured I was the boss. So he didn't have to stay up. You know what I mean? I got to stay up. So no, that was all good though. But yeah, he knew my whistles and everything, and he was my little buddy. So I appreciate the love, man, that everybody's giving me for him. Like I said, man, it's not like you had any warning or anything like that. And but I appreciate the support. Gus was a very important member of the family, and he'll always be remembered for sure with great, great, great fond memories. Uh, I actually got him cremated, so I'm looking forward to getting his ashes back in the box that has his name on it. He's going to go in the living room where he'll be, properly, uh, you know, honored and cherished, and for his memory and stuff. So, hey, man, shout out to everybody who have pets that they love and adore and treat uh, like members of the family. I believe I really believe I cannot recall a time in my adult life where I actually had a pet until Gus. But he was my guy. He was definitely my guy. So again, thanks for the support. So moving on. Uh, as we're recording, getting ready to go into 2021, and there's obviously a lot of talk about 2020 and people wanting to get out of it. Can't wait for this clock to turn and for us to go into a new year because there's been so many crazy things going on in the 2020. I remember the first time that I guess the first major event of 2020 for me anyway was Kobe Bryant dying in a helicopter crash along with his daughter. Um, and I guess I don't know if it was 9 total people in the helicopter that lost their lives. I remember I was refereeing and I got a text from my man Larry Blue, and he just asked me, if I heard about Kobe dying or something. And I don't exactly remember what he said, but I remember it had something to do with Kobe Down. And I remember texting him back, like cussing him out, like "F out of here," "F you talking about," Uh, and so then I started, like, between a timeout or halftime, I would go back to my phone, and look at CNN, look at ESPN, and some people was reporting that there was a helicopter crash. Kobe might have been in it and all this other kind of stuff. And then my phone starts blowing up, texts, phone calls, and then my youngest daughter actually called, and and this is how I knew for sure, because she's not really a phone person, so she don't do a lot of talking, but she called me like 6 times in a row. I was working, so I couldn't really answer, but when I could see it on my watch that she just kept calling me. So that I was like, man, it must be true. So I finally called her back, and she was just distraught. She was totally, totally distraught. And she goes, Daddy, are you okay?" And Gabrielle is sure, I guess she's 22, so she was 21 then, so she's a grown woman, and she just was torn to pieces. And I was like, yeah, baby, I guess I ain't got no choice right now. I can't even really think about it until I get out of here. I was there until I guess almost 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. And he was getting these calls at about, I guess, 11, maybe 10, 11. So that was the first thing. And then obviously, we all experienced the pandemic. Um, fear, a lot of layoffs, as a result. I've actually survived so far three layoffs and furloughs and workforce reductions and all of that kind of stuff. Um, so that's very stressful because a lot of people have lost jobs and uh, whatnot. We all know the story. We know about the federal government's response, and our governor did his daily things, and the New York governor did his daily things, and then we had George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, you know, all of that stuff, and then it kind of culminated with the stress of the election, which I'm sure that I say outside of the time when I remember getting ready to take my equipment home, and well, let me go back. I was about to take my equipment home to start working from home, and there were some things that happened, and some people that thought they were. Well, I won't go there. But anyway, there at that particular time, I really thought I was really scared that man, until I took my equipment home, actually got logged in and stuff like that. I was scared, that I wasn't gonna make it, because it was just that volatile, and things were moving at a rapid pace speed. So I remember my heart really beating fast, and me just being so paranoid. So, but after that, the most paranoid thing after that was definitely the election. Uh, I think I talked about it. Well, I don't know. I don't think I no, I didn't talk about it on this format. I did it. I did another show where we talked about the stress and how I avoided the news for days leading up to the election, and I didn't watch any the day of the election. I started watching a little bit the day after, you know. But I just remember, man, that was just so stressful because it was like, I mean, to me, literally the fate of the nation was at stake, and democracy was this far, from literally being shot to hell. And obviously we still got our issues and stuff, but man, the first step was at least doing what we did. So hey, shout out to Georgia. Hopefully, you guys do the right thing and really step up for this runoff and keep these crooks out of office. So, nevertheless, there was some things that I think I got accomplished that I'm happy about. Again, with all this downtime, there was a lot of things that were done differently. Normally I do a lot of baseball, referee a lot of sports, and a lot of that got shut off. So I had a lot of extra time on my hands, and so I was able to, as I hope you were too, do some things differently. Because I knew that after a certain while, I said to myself, this is really a great opportunity to do something different, to work on a project, because there's time to do that. And so I'm happy to say that, we started the For Real Though show, something that, well, actually, we didn't start it, we brought it back, as we were years ago on another format. So, able to bring this back this way, not very technologically savvy, but we hope to get better with that, So, yeah, we did that since I wasn't working, and in the evenings, for games and stuff for the most part, I took a lot of walks. Took a lot of walks, and that was really cool. Because during those walks, I got to listen to some books that were really awesome. Books like Cast by Isabella Wilkerson. Big fan of Isabella Wilkerson. She has another book called The Warmth of Other Suns, which I highly recommend. Both of these books are masterpieces, as far as I'm concerned. Both should be taught in schools. Both should be taught in, man, I would say as early as junior high school, but anyone can learn. Well, I mean, it's junior high school, college level, life level stuff, just real great masterpieces. Um, Another book that I read for the second time, Estelle Perel's The State of Affairs, which is, again, highly recommended. Talks about affairs, but at the same time, it really talks about human nature. That's really what it's about. It's about human nature. Um, Human nature, human tendencies. It's about dealing with trauma and stuff like that. So it's really good. It's really spot on. Esther Perel is, man. I just love smart people. She's a brilliant therapist, and I think it's good. It's a good book for anybody, whether you're in any relationship or not. Certainly, if you could be married, you could be single. You're still going to get a lot out of that. And you can do it on Kindle. You can get the paper book itself or the hardcover, or you could download it and listen to it like I did. Let's see what else. What else? The Broken Heart of America by Walter Johnson, which is a story about St. Louis and its history. Man, again, great book. Tons and tons of research. Uh, and if you're from St. Louis or you care anything about St. Louis, I'm telling you, this book does not miss a beat from the beginning of its establishment all the way through civic progress, Cookie Thornton. I mean, it is amazing. It's quite amazing, and I've got other people to read it, and they've been very surprised and as well about the type of things it has in it. So it's been really cool. Uh, some other things I've accomplished is uh, using this, I guess, this silence and this quietness, this time on my hands, because again, not being so busy, to learn to love and accept myself more. I've always been a different kind of cat. And, when you're a kid, being the kind of cat I was, necessarily wasn't popular because, I was always just kind of open. I was friendly, like to make friends. Uh, I could be somewhat of a people pleaser, I think, but at the same time, I had my own ethics and my code and stuff like that that I was willing to stand on. So I don't think, again, I had some struggles. I had some struggles with that, again, with my personality. Um, but I've learned how to accept it. I was I was always a little bit, just again a little different. At least from what I can say from what I perceive different because uh, growing up, I could see I could tell that people had a lot of masks on, even as a kid and going through school and elementary school, junior high school, and whatever. And I just remember people wearing a lot of masks, and I just wasn't comfortable, wearing a mask. I think my mask might have been more so just staying quiet. Uh, but if you was my friend, I really was gonna just be myself, and so I kind of hung out with the people that weren't afraid to be themselves. Uh, so, but again, so just kind of different. You know what I mean? Different. Like say for instance, I was kind of an anti-character. So if society said that you should like this, I probably like the other. So like say for instance, if I'm watching Gilligan's Island, I like Marianne more than I like Ginger. Shout out to Don Wells, rest in power. Um, when it came to I watched Three's Company, I like Janet. I ain't like Chrissy. Uh, I watched The Facts of Life. I liked Joe. I didn't like Blair. You know what I mean? Because she seemed like the most realist person. You know what I mean? So I was just kind of anti like that. I'm probably not the only person, uh, but I mean, as a kid, I don't know. I think again, society was saying you should, this like Ginger again was the glamorous when she was the blonde and or the redhead, and Marianne was just that chick from around the way. She was relatable. So I also thought she was prettier, but anyway. And I learned to face. And I've also you know uh, learning to embrace my C40. So what is C40? Well, recently there was a versus, and it was E40 and Too Short. And so one of the things that I got a kick out of was E40's dance, and E40 was doing his thing and stuff. And I was like, man, I already knew I really couldn't dance, but E40's making me feel a lot better about my dancing. Like it's really okay. Like, cause it's really just about you anyway. So my friend Troy, he made a comment or something and sent me a video, and start calling me C40 because and he actually had a video of me dancing, which was funny. I was dancing to some Rhoda G. Shout out Rhoda G. And I was doing my thing, and I probably looked you know, like a cat that can't dance. But you know what? That's the funny thing, man. Dancing is for you. You know what I mean? It's for you. But so it wasn't that 2020 taught me that, but I think I really stepped into it. Like it's really okay. Self acceptance, self love is really a good thing. It's funny because I remember sometimes dancing with Angie, my wife, and she's a really good dancer, so we'd be dancing stuff and I'd be dancing doing my thing, and she say something like, she try to help me out. She'd be like, all right baby, hands down, and I'd be like, sometimes I might try to do it, do what she's doing or whatever, but after a while I'd be like, nah, I can't do that, hey look baby, it's okay, I don't mind, for real, I can go over here and dance by myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm good. Because if I try to make this into a show, or try to make it, look good, then it's gonna take the joy out of it, right? Me dancing this music. This is about me enjoying this experience, no matter how I look. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not here to, I'm not on Dance Fever. I'm not on Star Search or any of that other kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a cat out here trying to get it in and have a good time. Now I'm not horrible, you know what I'm saying? I know that there's worse dancers than me, but but whatever it is, I've learned to just embrace it. Hey man, it's me, and if I got to dance by myself, I'm good. If you want to dance with me, it's cool too. Whatever. Some years ago when I went to Lola, shout out Larry Blue again, the greatest club ever. And I remember coming in there one night on a Friday night, and I was like, "Hey, man, I don't remember what was going on or nothing, but I remember I came in there by myself, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm just gonna get it in tonight." You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna get it in. It's been a hard week, hard couple of months, whatever it was. Hey, man, I'm gonna get it in tonight. It's going down. And he was like, "Hey, man, this is your club, man." He always said that, this spot is for you. It ain't for me. It's for the people. And that's the way it was. And I remember, man, I got my drink on, and the DJ came in. He was playing it old school, and man, I was getting it. You hear me? Like I remember, I was getting down. Like we don't turn up as grown folks. Grown folks, somebody let's go turn up. No, man, we grown. We old school. We get down. We don't turn up, right? So I remember just letting loose, just letting it all go. So that's all been a culmination, you know what I'm saying? Years coming to pass. But I think, man, really, really, really learning how to, really learning how to self love, really learning a lot about grace, a lot about peace. Uh, Started reading the Book of Joy by the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, and they talk about having this grace under pressure and this joy, uh, even when you're sad, that these things aren't mutually exclusive, so you could be sad about something and still have an inner joy. I'm learning how to do that. I'm learning how not to judge, um, which is really natural in our society. I'm learning how even in rough times to embrace my humanity, and at the same time, um, when I say brace my humanity, I mean brace the emotions and whatever it is that I'm feeling as, being normal, being okay, and but not letting it overthrow me, if you will, and still having a level of thankfulness and understanding that hey, this too shall pass. So, so to that degree, it's been good, and I'm looking forward to 2021, as you all are, as, sure. But I thought I got to thinking about it, man. It's like so. As many people talk about 2021, I don't know. It's like just because the calendar changed don't mean that you will. You know what I mean? So I got to thinking, man, what about 2021? How will it be different for you? Uh, how will it be different for you? Again, I can say if you don't change anything, then it's the year, it'd just be a different day, but it'd be the same old, same old. You know, uh, and it's funny. I used to be kind of against New Year's resolutions. And I think it was because I don't know. I think he's getting I'm anti. You know what I mean? So it just seemed kind of typical, And if the crowd is running over here doing this, I'm probably gonna run over there. That's kind of my thing. So I was kind of against, yeah, New Year's resolution. What's your New Year's resolution? Blah blah blah. And so I kind of got away from that initially. For years I got away from that. Matter of fact, if it was something I wanted to change, I probably try to change it in December or after Thanksgiving or something, so it won't, again, won't be typical. And I think part of it too is because maybe I thought that if you wait till New Year's, you wait to a certain day to try to do something, then it always gonna fail. You know what I mean? They talk about the statistics of New Year's resolutions and how many fail, in a certain amount of days and whatnot. So that might have had something to do with it too. And then I'm the kind of guy I'm just thinking, well, you could change anytime. There's those need to be a certain day. And all these things are true. However, I'm back on the bandwagon. Okay. I'm back on the bandwagon for New Year's resolutions. And I think if that's what it takes, a new year, a new beginning, that is a good thing. I remember when I used to be a member of the YMCA. One thing I hate about New Year's, and then all the people that's coming to the gym, because they're gonna work out, and they be on the machines and stuff, just in the way, and you knew the person to be in the way, when you walk in and you see these people with these brand new workout outfits, you know, you might see a group of people, a group of women, would be around a treadmill or a set of weights or one of the machines, and they just be standing around looking at it and looking at each other, I push a button, you know. And I was saying to myself, man, I can't wait till like January 28th. Because by the time 28th comes, none of y'all asses gonna be in here. I'm trying to get my workout in, do my thing, and get out. Y'all in the way, y'all up on the machine. Take it too long, move, But I think no, man, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But I think, I haven't worked out in quite a while, other than cardio. But if I was to go start working out again, I think the key is, ladies and gentlemen, if you're gonna start working out, you need to have a plan, right? You need to have a plan of what you're gonna do, and there are YouTube videos and stuff, like that you could look at to say, hey, this is the things I want to work on. I want to work on my core, my arms, my legs, my cardio, whatever. There are videos you can look at, lots of stuff online where you don't have to, overextend yourself uh, and try to figure it out on the go. Because when you try to go to figure it out on the go, man, it's really tough. It's really, it could be intimidating, especially if you see people in there doing stuff, you don't know what they're doing. Man, it could be overwhelming. And then, then your body's already like, I don't want to be here anyway. Let's go home and eat. some more cookies and cakes and drink some more eggnog. You know what I mean? Let's go take a nap. Because it's cold outside and all of that. So that's just an aside. You could also get your personal trainer if you can afford it. But if you can't afford it, you can also again, you can go to do these videos. You can go with somebody who has worked out and have them, show you a few things. Have them get you a buddy, that's really going to be accountable. That's something you could do as well. So, uh, man, you got to use tools to help yourself. You know what I mean? You can't, going it alone and stuff, man, is not good. And going it with some people who are just like you ain't necessarily good. You know what I mean? You need somebody, to help push you. Anyway, um, so but I got some other goals too. I got some goals. Uh, as I'm again embracing myself. I think one thing to think about, as you embrace your own changes, is you got to acknowledge, not only what your goals are. Everybody's got goals, but it's just as important to acknowledge what's keeping you from your goals. Right? There's a reason why uh, a lot of New Year's resolutions fail. And I think a lot of it is because you don't have a plan, but I think a lot of it is sometimes even people who do have plans, that plan doesn't include things that can get in the way. And I'll give you an example. Like say for instance, working out. One of the things uh that can be intimidated when you work out is seeing other people work out, you know, because there's a tendency to compare. You know what I mean? You get a measuring stick out. And, when you compare yourself, you know, it's always going to be a loser at the end of the day. And the reason why it's going to be a loser is because you either A, going to think you're lesser than, you're looking at somebody else's body type, you're looking at somebody else's reps, you're looking at what they're doing, and they might have been doing this stuff for years, right? Um, and then you comparing it to yourself. So you either gonna think you're better than, or you think you're less than. Okay, so that's never a good thing. Your competition is yourself. Your competition is meeting the goals that you want to meet. Um, Things that are important to you. That's your measuring stick. You know what I mean? So, but again, I've done it. I've done it. I've gone in there and be like, man, And so when you see other people, you can think, man, I'm so far away that it seems intimidating. If they up there doing pull-ups, and they did 15, 20, 25, and you do two, you know what I'm saying? But that's okay. You got to start somewhere. But again, that comes from just again having realistic goals. Setting a timetable, for yourself and things like that. But but here's the things you got to do. I don't care what your goals are, what you're doing. You got to have this foundation. So this is what I'm talking about when I say um, having this baseline for things that would get in the way of your goals. Okay, so let's start with some basic stuff. One thing is, hey, you got to love yourself for where you are, right? So you can have goals. I don't care what those goals are, whether they're business, whether they're health wise, whatever the case may be. If you want to get in shape, that's great. But you still have to love yourself for the shape that you're in now. Like you have to embrace who you are right now. And I know that's not an easy thing. There are times when I look in the mirror and I'm ashamed of my body, right? And shame is a mother. You know what I mean? Like shame is not something, it's something that's super, super common. I'm not going to get into it a whole lot. There's actually a great book. There are lots of great books on shame, but Brene Brown has a book called The Gift of Imperfection, and it really gets into shame. Shame's a killer, and I can tell you that. And shame does come a lot. I think a lot of shame comes from comparing. But shame, man, when you want to get somewhere, but you're not there. You don't like the way you look. Uh, you don't like your body type, you don't like your height, whatever it is, it's a lot of things that shame go into, and shame just it just is petrifying. And It's something that I would suggest doing a little research on shame so you can see how much it infiltrates your life on a daily. And shame really keeps you from loving yourself, the way you should. Another thing is, hey, why do you have these goals? What is your motivation and what is your intentions, right? So again, I'm just gonna stay where we are, getting in shape. What are your intentions? Because that's gonna be important as to whether you're gonna really continue. And it doesn't matter whether your intentions are quote unquote honorable or not. You could have your intentions for wanting to work out could be total vanity. That hey, I want to have these muscles, I want to have a flat tummy, you know, for when the springtime and the summertime come. It could be totally vain, but you have to be real and upfront with yourself about it. Because if it is vanity, then that may be a motivator for you, it may not. See, some people vanity will get you started, but you're not going to finish the course, right? Um, because that doesn't move you. For some people, being vain, hey, that's the ultimate challenge. You know what I mean? It may be again, they may be trying to compete with somebody else. Um, but again, you got to know what works for you. I know for me, personally, I've struggled with shame. When it comes to my body, uh, and at the same time, I want to be healthy. You know what I mean? So there's a little vanity because I like the way I fit in certain clothes, and then, there's a little shame because I don't like the way I look sometimes. Uh, and then there is wanting to be healthy. At the same time, I think that when I'm usually at the weight that I want to be at, I usually feel really good. Uh, Seem like I'm less sad, have less bouts with depression and stuff like that. I'm less lethargic. So, it's a lot of things in there, but that's when you really got to know who you are. You really got to know your own intentions. And then when you know your intentions, and you recognize that for yourself, then it's a lot easier to follow, and to follow through. Um, Again, we already talked about earlier throwing away the comparison stick because uh again, anytime you compare, you either gonna come up short or you're gonna come up. You know, I think if anything, if you're gonna compare, you could you well you don't have to compare. You could contrast. So like say for instance, if I'm, you could say it could be worse, right? So whenever where you are, you could be worse, right? You can be better, but you could be worse, right? But again, I think anytime you look outside of yourself, then it's gonna be a real challenge. You have to stay within. Because that's to me that's the ultimate motivator. Self motivation uh, for your own goals. That's the thing that can sustain you. Not to be perfect, not to hit it every single time. But to be consistent. Here's another thing: start with the end. Start at the end and where you want to be, and then work your way to the beginning. So a little example of that is, like, say for instance, we're going to inaugurate a new president in January, right? So Joe Biden has never been president before. He's been vice president, but he's never been president. Yet he ran for president. People voted him for president, and guess what? He's never been president though. You know what I mean? So he's going to start with that job before he actually does the duties of the presidency. Same way, if you're running for mayor, right? The time to be a mayor, the time to be mayoral, or presidential, as it were, is before you actually get the office. Because if you're not there before you get it, you're not probably not going to be there when you get there. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a mayor, you're running for mayor, where you want to be like a mayor. You know what I mean? You're going to carry yourself like a mayor. You're going to talk like a mayor. You're going to address citizens like a mayor. You're going to think. You're going to have a vision for the city before you get there, right? So you're starting at the end, and then you're working your way into that position. And so that's one way to look at it. So, and I'm going to talk about my own goals at the end of this and share those with you. But I'm going to start when I start, this thing going into the new year. I'm going to my attitude is going to be I'm already there. Now I'm just going to take those steps. I'm taking those steps for it to be manifest, but my attitude in my mind is, hey, I'm already that guy. I'm that guy that I want to be. I'm already that guy that I want to be. Um, because truth be told, you know, it's all practice anyway, right? I mean, what are you talking about? Practice? We want to talk about practice, not a game, not life, not real life. We're talking about practice, right? Because but you do have to practice, right? If you're meditating, if you want to meditate, guess what? You practice meditation, right? If if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, they call it a practice. Why? Because you practicing. There is no there is no magic bullet, right? You don't get to the point of, hey, I'm the perfect eater. I'm the perfect this, that, or the other. I always do this all. No, man, it's a practice. It's a practice. So practice just means that you got to do it over and over again. If I remember I was reading this article about Prince, and it was talking about how, it would insult him if somebody was like, hey man, yeah, you're such a genius, blah blah blah. And the reason why that was insulting to him is because genius, by calling him a genius, you're basically taking away all the hard work, all the practicing on his craft that he's done. So you just like he just woke up out of bed like that. But no, he spent hours and hours and hours and hours on the guitar, on the piano, on the drums, on the bass, on the keyboard, uh, all these different instruments, hours and hours working on his voice, his craft, year after year after year after year to get, some of the music that we enjoy. Same way, Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, whoever you want to name, anybody who's working on their craft, a great piano player, Verdine White on the bass for Earth, Wind and Fire, they talk about it's a labor of love. Uh, so you're constantly you're just not some perfect thing. You're gonna be practicing this, for years and years and years, no matter what it is that your goals are. You're gonna be practicing that, and you gotta just know that going in. Again, there's no magic bullet. There's what you want to do, what you want to be, and then you working toward that. Kobe Bryant even talked about that. Like it's not the championships that he uh relishes the most. That's the reward. That's the reward at the end if you get that fortunate. But he really learned to embrace that practice, the journey to get there, the time in the weight room, the time in the massage room, putting up those jumpers, the sprints. That's the journey because that's where the real living is, right? That's where the real living is. And I remember I won one championship in my life, and that was a men's basketball championship, and I think it was '92 or '93, and it was my little basketball team we had as a group of us guys. We were all grown, and this, we played. It was the biggest thing of the week, and I remember working so hard to get that championship. And we won, I think it was 55, 54, 55, 53, something like that. Well, anyway, I remember when we won the championship, it was like I was on the floor. We was at St. Louis University, and it was just kind of anticlimactic. You know what I'm saying? I was happy. It was like this great thing that had been done, but it was like, oh wow, now it's over, right? And when I think about that team that I had for all those years that we played together, we probably played 7, 8 years together. I don't whenever I think about that team, like I seldom ever think about the championship. I think about practice. I think about renting gyms out and all of us getting together. I used to have to rent a gym for us to, be able to go practice at. So, we usually practice once a week on Saturday or something, and we played on Sundays. And I remember that. I remember the locker room. I remember a few games. But I mostly remember our interactions. I remember trying to get to the championship. I remember the work that it took and the camaraderie and the brotherhood. So that's what meant more to me than anything. So I could definitely understand that, the journey or no matter what it is, the journey is something that you got to embrace. It's not that you're not going to enjoy the rewards, getting to where you want to be. You know, that certainly is going to matter. Because you gotta have an end game at some point. Uh, and then, like say, if you win a championship, your next goal is to win another one, right? It's a whole new set of journey, if you will. So no matter what it is, again, you just you gotta know that going in, and that's why you gotta be compassionate to yourself, right? Because you're not gonna always make it. You're not gonna always make your championships. You're not gonna always win. You're gonna fall. Uh, but you have to learn to accept those too, and that it's okay. So you do have to be compassionate. So there's a time, you know, to be compassionate to yourself. It doesn't mean you're letting yourself off the hook. There's a difference, right? So compassion is just not having an excuse about it. Hey man, today's not the day, or today I'm just gonna eat whatever. You know what I mean? You could be feeling some type of way, whatever the case may be, and that's okay. But your own spirit will tell you, when you're going overboard, when you're just giving in, or when it's been too long. Your spirit will tell you. It's one thing. When it comes to spiritual things, I feel like like unlike a lot of religions, I trust people with God, if you will. If you want to say God, the universe, whatever. I trust people with God. So in my life, my spirit tells me when it's time to get up, do this, do that. I already knew going into my vacation time that I was going to start working on my podcast again. I had plenty of goals. I wrote these things down, but I also had time in to watch TV, to watch movies. I wanted to enjoy that. So I wrote all that stuff down, and I gave myself permission, to sit there and watch some Netflix, watch some Hulu, watch some Amazon Prime, some HBO Max, whatever, and enjoy that without guilt, without worrying about it. Hey, ate me some cheesecake, had me a couple drinks, you know what I mean? Slept in. I did all of that, right? And I also knew when it was time, to take care of some business because my spirit was leading me to that. Okay, Chris, now it's time to do this. Okay, and I do that. And when I do that, I'm fulfilled. I feel good about it, just as good as I did when I gave myself permission to watch TV and to chill out, right? So, all these things are important. And, so I trust you. I trust you guys. Uh, and you should trust yourself. You got to trust yourself. So as I close up, let me just share some things that I uh, want to have in place by the end of 2020. I'm sorry, end of 2021. One of my personal goals is to be able to receive as freely as I give, uh, with an open heart, deserving of good and wonderful things. So that comes from, again, just taking a self assessment and realizing that sometimes when it comes to a compliment, uh, if somebody tries to tell me that I'm a good person or what have you, no matter what the case may be, you're really smart, you're really talented, what have you, a lot of times, uh, my tendency is kind of downplay it. And I think it's almost like, that quote, I don't know if it was Mandela, but it says something to the extent of, we're really afraid of our own success. Like that's what we're really afraid of. And I think that for me, playing the low role was something that I felt was honorable. That you always stay low no matter what. But it also caused me not to, because another thing is I hate arrogancy, right? So I just never wanted to, uh, fall into that, or get the big head. So I'm not really a big head kind of guy, you know what I mean? So that's not something I had to worry about. So it was really that I was over leveraged to the other end. Now, if it come to me giving a person praise or telling someone their best qualities, well, that's easy for me, and I can really mean it. It's easy for me to give love, give compliments, give gifts. Like that's easy for me. I have an open heart. That's my thing. But to receive it, and then receive it with a heart of gladness and like, hey, it's cool. I'm worthy of this. I deserve this. Like that is something new for me, right? That's something that I'm still growing into. That I don't have to, I can be just as joyous in receiving something as I am when I give it. I can take it in. It's okay. Give myself permission to embrace that. Yes, yes, I really am valued. I really do make great contributions, and that's okay. That's a good thing. So that's something that I'll be working on, and I seeing myself is already there. I'm seeing myself as already there, and with each opportunity that's granted me, I'm gonna engulf that more and more and more and more. Okay. Next thing is, and I started this one already. So, and that's just to be curious. You know, if I'm angry, uh, if I'm depressed, to not let it overwhelm me and not overanalyze it, but to really be curious about, why am I feeling this way? Why am I angry? Why am I depressed? Uh, why am I battling low self-esteem right now? Be curious. Is there something that triggered it? Is there a pattern? Is there something that, and see, being curious about something, it takes the pressure off. You know what I mean? Like, it takes you out of you. You get out of your own head. And that's one thing about joy. One of the tools about joy is getting out of your own head, because the more compassionate you are towards other people when they're suffering, you just tend not to think about your own stuff. You know what I mean? So and again, just even going back, again, to, because you just got to keep everything in its proper place, right? So I'm grieving, right now I'm grieving my cockatiel, Gus. I'm in the process of grieving. I'm coming to acceptance, definitely coming to acceptance of it, but I'm grieving. But my grief is no less significant to me than someone who's grieving a dog, or someone who's grieving a parent. Or, again, we can contrast, but we can't compare, because grief is grief, right? And someone's grieving a parent, you know, uh, obviously is going to be devastating, to them. It's also just going to be different. You know what I mean? It's different. My mother's still living, but I lost my father in 1998. And, it's different. I still have dreams about him and stuff like that, from time to time, and I miss him, from time to time. So it's different, right? But I don't have to lessen my grief for my bird because someone else lost a parent or a brother or a sister, right? All these grievings are important, right? They don't all have to be measured against one another, if that makes sense. So hopefully that makes sense to you, because we're all going to experience, a lot of these different griefs anyway, right? Whether it's brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, grandmother, some of us children, uh, some of us have buried both of our parents, so, when that time comes, hey, that's the thing that you're grieving, that's the thing you got to go through. It's your own human experience, but it doesn't have to be measured against someone else's. Uh, you have to accept it and roll with it fully, and as soon as you try to compare it to somebody else's, again, you either gonna be like, well, me grieving my parent ain't nothing like your old stupid bird. Well, again, now that's not the way to look at it. You see what I'm saying? They don't have to be. There's no measuring stick, man. Grieving is grieving, and they need to be, all respected. They're different levels, right? Another thing on my goal list is respect the choices of others, uh, especially those closest to me. Again, this is something I've already started, uh, but there are times when people you love can disappoint you, right? And there are some things that some people in my family do that I just don't understand. It don't make sense to me, no matter if I talk to them about it, if I ask them about it. Uh, but whereas I used to personalize some of these things if they affected me, uh, I'm learning not to. I'm learning to just, you know, accept them. You know what I mean? Because that's the place that they're in. I truly do believe that people do the best that they know how. You know what I mean? With what they know. Like, there's a difference in what you know and what you really know. So, like, say for instance, I may know certain things are not good for me, but it doesn't. But until I stop doing that activity, I don't really know. Like, it's something in me that thinks that I'm going to get away with it, right? Um, So, but that what you really know that you really believe in, I believe that's pretty much what you do pretty much every single time. That's what you end up doing. That what you really believe in, right? To you, so you know better, you do better. And I believe that people do what they know to do in their time, dispensation in life. And so to accept that, it takes some grief away, takes the burden away, it takes the pressure, and the pain away from me. It's because I'm not personalizing, and it shows compassion. To, hey, this is where this person is, and I don't know what they're going through. So based on what they're going through, I'm not in their body, I'm not in their spirit, I'm not in their mind, so I don't know what they're going through or how they're feeling. So who am I to judge? That's their life. I do, but I'll be here. I value you. I value them, and I respect them for where they are. So that's a goal. Uh, Man, this is a big one right here. I want to be committed to a lifestyle of rituals, right? That helps me to be still. Okay. So these rituals could be, you know, taking a couple minutes a day or, a few times a day, a couple minutes to get quiet, close my eyes, to, kick all the crazy thoughts out. It may be listen to some music, right? Music for me is a very spiritual thing. And so there are times, hey, last night I was getting busy playing some old school hip hop, not like old school 90s. I'm talking about old school early 80s. And it was just as spiritual to me as sitting down and being quiet. But I want to make that a practice of shutting the noise out and diving into myself, my own spirit, and allowing it to rest so that I can hear. So a lot of clarity, a lot of times in silence. There are times when I start a book, and I remember it with the gift of imperfection, a couple times in particular, that I remember listening to a chapter and then getting to that chapter, and instead of me just moving on, I just stopped it. And although I might have had, 2 miles to walk back home, I just took those 2 miles and walked in silence, because again, my spirit told me that's what needed to be done. And through that, I got a lot of great ideas, a lot of thoughts that came to me that I never had before in my entire life, right? Uh, and again, there are times when I've taken a walk and I put some music on, and all of a sudden I hear this music, and it's in a different way. I'm gonna do a podcast about that, so stay tuned for that. So that's the goal. Uh, as far as health goes, I do have a weight goal, right? My weight goal is to be between 180 and 185, 180, 185 pounds by the end of 2021. Uh, so, and again, being that, I'm already going to start behaving as if that's where I am. And because I know when I get to my goal weight, I would have already developed these habits that sustain me, to be, where I want to be. So, and another goal, I wanted to invest in the stock market. Uh, I've already started that, opened up a Robinhood account. Uh, Only got one stock right now, but it's cool, right? Because if I was to compare myself to my friends, then some of my friends who are heavily invested, got a lot of money, really doing well for themselves. If I was to compare myself, then I'd probably never do nothing because L ain't gonna never catch up, right? But it's not about that. Remember, we talked about that, right? So I'm preaching to you, but I'm preaching to myself, right? You never comparing. It's not meant to be done. It's not meant to be done. You're only meant to focus inward. And if we're all our best selves, man, then for the collective, it's dope because everybody's not gonna have the same gifts and talents anyway, right? But I'm gonna do some more investing, but at least I got it started, right? I got one stock, I got 20 shares of it. And so, we moving on. Cool, right? Uh Another financial goal is I want to have uh by the end of the year, I want to have $15,000 in my savings account. That's my goal, right? And again, some of you, Maybe thinking, man, if I got $500 in my account, that's a big deal, and it is a big deal. Some of you are gonna be like $15,000, man. It ain't nothing, you know. But again, we're not comparing. This is for me. This is for me. You know, I didn't grow up super fiscally responsible or with a whole lot of knowledge. I am pretty frugal. I like nice things, and I don't mind saving up for the nice things that I want. I like having something for emergencies in case the car break down. I like to be stressed financially about certain things. So I got some good habits, but at the same time, it's still a lot to learn. And my goal is to make sacrifices, even in my buying and whatnot, is to make sacrifices. And I want to have $15,000 in my savings account. Now I might not end up with that there. Maybe if I got 15,000, I may use 5,000 of that to invest. Maybe so, but at least I want to get there. So despite of whatever stocks I buy, whatever I invest in, whatever happens to my car, whatever, right? Presents, birthday, whatever, things that come up. My goal is to have $15,000 in my savings account by the end of the year. So again, start small. This is where I am, right? You got to decide where you're going to be. Because again, 2021 is not going to be different just because the calendar says it. If it's not different for you, you have to make it happen. So, hey, that's it for the show. Thanks for joining me. Again, if you like us, subscribe. Like and subscribe for Real Though Show on the Yahoo. Had to think about it again. And hey, whatever you do, man, hey, stay safe out here. Mask up. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. And keep it real. For real, though. Peace. See you next time.